We're Dylan and Joe. Welcome to the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast. In this month in December, Joe, how we doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm a little bit itchy. And I'm about to scratch that
Itchy.
itch because I've been itching to record another podcast with you. It's been too long, but we're back in action. And what an episode we have for you today.
We sincerely apologize. We don't even know what happened. It started to get colder, and Joe's catalytic converters got cut off his car, and that just really delayed us.
Threw us for a loop.
And so we've just been recovering from the changes in weather, and Joe's Honda having, we can't do a podcast without an exhaust working.
Exactly. And also, as well as I do, when you have to drive your car like Fred Flintstone with your feet in the wintertime, it's tough. In the summer, I can kind of do it, but in the wintertime, when you're at those cold feet and you're just trying to get to work on time, just yabba dabba do, it really wears on me. I just need to take a little break. And obviously, I mean, you're jet setting all around the world like the international playboy you are. So you're a busy guy. And we had Thanksgiving come up. So we had a couple of, little stops in the road. But don't worry.
Don't worry. Why are you worried?
Don't worry.
We're still here.
We're here. We're back. All's good.
And
it'd be one thing if you had to Fred Flintstone your car all the way around. If you I was reading or listening. No, I think I was reading about this one guy who he decided to walk just not wear shoes for a year. Just recently.
Cool idea to begin with.
Yeah. No shoes for a year because he wanted to reignite his caveman feet, which we all have.
Mm-hmm.
So our
feet beat the hell out of yourself so you can get them
pretty much just like walk the shit out of yourself, and our feet will eventually, your toes will expand like this, like they like move out like that, and then you develop like massive calluses on your heels and your balls of your feet and stuff like that, so you can like grab trees
because your foot has to like make a shoe for you, because you're not our little tender feet are not meant to walk around the world, but if you have those calluses and everything, you can.
Well, here's the thing, so this is where I want to meet this guy halfway. Our feet are intended to walk around the earth as it was, 14,000 years ago, not around the city.
Yeah, with asphalt and glass and
cigarette butts and broken fucking car parts and like metal and all these things. So I saw, what was I watching? I don't know if it was Apocalyptica, the movie
Apocalypto, I think it's
Apocalypto. They wear like ropes around the inside of their feet, so like this part right here.
Yeah, so that part won't get callous because it doesn't touch the ground as much, right?
Well, exactly. So instead of walking on these two things, it balances the foot out more. So I think that it's okay to meet people halfway and do it like that. If this guy wanted, So I wouldn't go full barefoot because that could be painful. But if he did just a rope shoe, might be okay.
I'd go with that Japanese wood block. It just is a little string on your toes, and then you just have a fucking block of wood.
Yeah. Those are classic. Quite a good way to walk like a robot. So
just
yeah.
I mean, that's got to be the opposite of the natural walking of feet, to have a flat wooden plank under your foot at all times. That's not the natural way that your foot's built to walk.
Yeah, no, that's not good for anything. Like the opposite is like in prison, they sleep on really thin pieces of cotton on like concrete or something like that, where your back ends up kind of adjusting. Like we're kind of meant to just sleep on the grass anyway, but we're not supposed to walk on pieces of wood.
No.
For shoes. That's not happening.
Now you listen to us Dutch people, we're calling you out.
Oh, and they're weird Dutch shoes?
The wooden clogs.
Oh yeah. Dude, I had a guy try to sell me those. Like he's like, oh, I'm the importer of these weird fucking Dutch shoe things, and he was telling me the best shoes ever, and they're like wicked expensive. I was like, yeah, they're so ugly.
They're decorations. They're not shoes. I mean,
well, they look like doctor shoes. Like it's like they're ugly to begin with, and they.
Wait a minute, I'm talking about different ones. Then they look like doctor shoes. These ones look like when SpongeBob wears like the big wooden elf shoes. That's what I'm talking about. The Dutch clogs.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah,
they look like doctor shoes.
Yeah, look up doctor shoes. They have that same shape.
Gotcha.
Like that stupid ass shape. That's what they look like.
Stupid ass shape.
Yeah. If they're so ugly.
I see what you mean. Because those are also clogs.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what you mean now. Because they were like waitresses wear those and stuff. Because they're non-slip or whatever. Easy.
I don't know. They're so dumb.
Let's not get too off topic though.
Anyways, let's get.
What's the episode today? It's the anniversary of the Dylan and Joe Basement Podcast. It's been a year. Since we
It's been a
started this
year.
bad boy.
It's been a little over a year, but
has.
again, we said Joe had car problems, so we took off a couple days from the pod. But
Sorry.
It's been a year, November 19th, 2020 to November 19th, 2021, or early December, as we are now. Yeah, 1 year of podcasting. Here we are.
We're still doing it.
We got some stuff that happened on November 19th that came before us. We've added to the chronological order of famous events in history. First episode of Dylan Joe Basin Podcast was published. You want to get right into this and just let's start chatting about stuff that's happened on this day so you guys can also know on November 19th, a very special and sacred day in the DJBP, what has happened before that.
Yeah, I thought that we shouldn't be selfish about our anniversary. We could share it with a bunch of other big time events. The stuff on my list is not all November 19th, just that day. It's stuff around the time, to celebrate in between. But yeah, let's get started. Do you want to start?
I just want to fire it off with so many things on this list.
Oh yeah.
And specifically in 1551, this is my favorite one so far. Ivan the Terrible killed his son. Classic move.
Truly living up to his name.
Yep. And his son was so 1581, Tsarevich Ivan Ivanovich was attacked by his father, Ivan the Terrible, and 3 days earlier. So he on the 16th, he was attacked, whatever that means. And he died 3 days later because Ivan the Terrible, as mentioned, was very terrible, enough to even take the life of his son. It looks like he was hit in the head by something and died on a really nice carpet. That is one of the first things had to happen in human history on November 19th.
How ironic that you take such a blow to the head and then you land on a nice, soft, voluptuous carpet.
I know. Well,
but you're
I mean,
out.
if you are anything ever in history and it's just your first name and then an adjective,
yeah,
you are wealthy.
Alexander the Great.
Yep.
Ivan the
Vlad the Impaler. Attila the Hun. He lived up to the name the Hun too.
That's a great point. He was a Hun. He
was quite the Hun. So that was in 1581, which is just so crazy because it's not that long ago that this happened. And then shortly thereafter, way less than 100 years, like 60 years, on this day, the Mayflower reached Cape Cod. 1620.
Wow. Yeah, 'tis the season for the pilgrims.
Yeah, and that's only 40 years before the witch trials started happening, which is even crazier. It's like that happened, and then like not that long after that shit started going down. It's a bad time.
That's a bad time. You can imagine if like political leaders still acted like that. Like, what if the president of the United States murdered his son?
Yeah, exactly.
You'd be like, I'm the president here, not you. And it's
like anything could happen. And we'll find out.
The king, like, I'm pretty sure Ivan the Terrible didn't do time for murdering his son. I'm sure people weren't a fan of it, but I'm pretty sure he still was terrible afterwards.
Yeah, it was just something that happened because like family governance was between the family. So it was like, he fucking killed his son, and I wouldn't fuck with that guy. That's where that conversation ends.
Yeah, I mean, he'll kill anybody. He'll even kill his own son.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, we killed his son, now he's going to go to court and he's going to do this thing in front of trial. I was like, no, just don't piss that guy off.
Yeah, the guy's nuts. But yeah, I mean, even the idea of having dynasties or familial ruling classes for so long is insane. It's like, who's the best person to rule us? Like, well, probably that guy's kid. Like, what? Just because he's already the guy, it's like, yeah, just keep having kids. And like places like North Korea are still doing it now, where they're like, yeah, whatever that person has a kid, that's the next ruler. It's like, just because they popped one out, they deserve to rule this whole entire nation of people. Yes, it's divine rule.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's not that long ago that was still not only prevalent, but it was the default. Like that's what happens.
I mean, that's still happening, even with
still
like
happens
the royal family and other countries. Royal families. Like we have kids and then they rule. And
it still happens in America. I mean, from John Quincy Adams to George W. Bush, their dads were already the ruler, and they're like, "Well, I should do it too because I came out of his ball sack, so I'm just as qualified." And everyone's like, "Take our money, idiots."
Yeah, it's a weird thing, and it's a real great way to show incompetence as well, because this is how that goes. This is how it goes. You're a brat like George W. Bush. You fuck up for a while, you get DUIs, and then you join the you somehow become a fighter pilot.
Nice.
and then you
well, your dad being the head of the CIA should probably help with that.
Definitely helps with that. And then
grease the wheels, as they say.
Definitely grease the wheels. And then you get into power and you just right off the bat, you got to do something to show you mean business, because you can't do it in a way of like, you can't do it by communication and being a good person and being like a good leader. You're like, nope, we're going to have to kill a bunch of people right off the bat just to show people that
I mean business.
I mean business. And George Bush, that's exactly what he did.
That's so funny. It's like, I'm not just some dumb frat guy, okay? I can show you that by bullying people weaker than me. That'll show you.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Humans, that's something. So, dude, that's like one crazy thing.
Mm-hmm.
Christopher Columbus discovered Puerto Rico on this date in 1493.
Really? Is that was not the first time that the Europeans found the Western hemispheres, or were the Pilgrims and Columbus around the same time? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So, well, wait a minute. So, it was this is way before that. So the Pilgrims were 16.
The Columbus was 200 years earlier.
Okay. Yeah. I thought you were like, oh, it was like right around then. I'm like, no.
Well, it was November of, that week in November, which I thought was kind of interesting, because when you think about discovering America, to me, it's the Vikings, it's Columbus, and it's the Pilgrims in my head. So it's interesting that two
and the Druids. Don't forget the Druids.
Don't forget the Polynesians and the Asian land bridge. There's a lot of other things. I'm just saying, but immediately what comes to my mind is Columbus and the Pilgrims, and they're both. Columbus's Thanksgiving probably was a little bit different, but so was the actual Thanksgiving, which is on my list. Do you want to do the thing where we bounce back and forth, or do you want to?
Yeah. Oh yeah, let's bounce back and forth. I'm down with that. So, but also just to a note for the Mayflower folks, I went surfing last week, and it's not a good time to be discovering Cape Cod.
No,
it's a little cold.
It's very cold.
It's very cold. It's a lot colder than it was last month. Out. Like, it's seriously cold. At least Christopher Columbus discovered Puerto Rico in November in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, it was probably still like 80 degrees there.
A little different than discovering Cape Cod, or Plymouth, wherever the fuck they went.
Plymouth, where they ended up.
Yeah.
It must have been so goddamn cold. We talk about the living conditions of people who lived in colonial America at the time.
Just shitty, gray, cold rain, getting shot in the neck with arrows. It was just like
after you're on a boat for 4 months, your reward is to land in Massachusetts in November. Like, this ought to be fun.
Yeah,
it'll be a fun couple of months.
It's going great. Yeah,
definitely. At least half of us are going to die, and probably all my kids are going to die. So
no question. Do you know if they meant to land in Plymouth? Like, did someone not think this through, or did they just?
I don't think they meant to land
by chance not hit the keys. Like, where's?
Yeah, I don't know where they meant to land. I know that the only prevalent colony at the time was Jamestown in Virginia. So I would think that they would want to hit a little bit closer to the Mason-Dixon line if they were aiming. They probably didn't want to go to Jamestown because they wanted to start their own thing. But I can't imagine they wanted to end up as far north as Massachusetts. I mean, that
maybe this was as south as they could go with distance-wise, because the difference between with the curvature of the Earth from going from North Carolina to where did they come from? Fucking Heathrow Airport.
Yeah, from Heathrow. Yeah.
Okay, they came from Heathrow Airport to Plymouth Rock.
Right. Yeah.
The difference between that and something that's sort of warmer but not really is North Carolina, and that could be 400 miles just because the curvature of the Earth's different.
Yeah.
So maybe this was they're like, hey, we could go to fucking Prince Edward Island and have some oysters, but it's just too cold, so we'll take an extra couple days to get to Plymouth.
Because I think if they went straight across, like you said, the curvature of the Earth is a weird thing because it's not accurate. The map actually isn't flattened out. Like if you actually saw the lines, it would be shorter at the top and wider at the bottom. But I think when you look at a map, weirdly enough, Germany or like Berlin is almost if you look just a straight line in the globe, it's like where Boston is, which I always think that like that's where like the UK is. The UK is actually much further north latitude wise than New England. But in my head, because it's similar weather and similar like, ideas in my head, I think it's the same thing. But actually, New England's at a very much more southern latitude than the UK is. The UK is like I said, it's like Canada up there.
Yeah.
But the way that, the climate works and the way that the curvature of the Earth works, UK is not as cold as Canada, and it doesn't even snow nearly as much as it does in New England, which is further south if you look at the latitude.
Yeah. The globe's weird. And it's like weird. North Africa, like on the upper west side, like Morocco is like straight across is like Virginia or something. Like it's something very strange.
Yeah, it's weird the way it works.
Yeah, it's weird the way it works. And also I did learn something too. That the difference between the like where the Atlantic and the Pacific meet at one point, like there's like a straight line and they're different colors. And this is the way with most oceans when they meet. It's not like the whole Earth is just covered in the same body of water. They're different salinities.
Differentiate.
Yeah, so they're like the Atlantic and Pacific have different salt contents, so they have different colors, and they don't really mix. It's like this really strange thing. Look it up, people.
That's interesting.
Everybody look this up. Yeah, it's weird.
See if we can't find a picture of the demarcation there.
Yeah, like it's like
because if that wasn't the case, you could say there really isn't four oceans. There's one ocean. It's all the water in the world that's not fresh. Like basically, you could say
that's what I thought. I really thought that.
If there's differences, that that's
like the oceans are all the same. Like it's the same fucking water. It's not the same fucking water.
Really?
Yeah, it's different.
Because it seems like the oceans would be the same as like land, where there really isn't like countries. We just named different parts of the land different things. It's just up to us, and the oceans are like, oh, there's oceans. But if they're different in that way, then they truly are different, and it's worth naming them differently.
Yeah, like it's not like they just named the Arctic. Am I making shit up?
Yeah, Ocean? It's the Arctic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Pacific, and the Atlantic are the four oceans.
Okay, yeah, like where let's say the Atlantic meets the Arctic, like you can see a difference between the colors of the water. It's this very crazy phenomenon.
That is wild.
That's real. Yeah.
Well, good for them for naming them the right way and not just differentiating, because if you look at like
drawing lines,
like the map, if you look at like in the International Space Station, you look down, the difference between Connecticut and Massachusetts is nothing.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
We just decided those are two different things, but the oceans, that's a little bit more of a, you can actually differentiate, and they're huge. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So what do you got? What do you got for this day in history?
I thought that I might come up with something like that at the time because it was just Thanksgiving, and I pulled up a more modern example. So this is in 1970.
Whoa, 1970 November?
Yeah, in November. But the reason why is because it was totally linked to Thanksgiving. And November 26th, 1970, in Plymouth, Massachusetts, they were celebrating the 350th anniversary of the Pilgrims' arrival.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, protesters gathered under a statue of Massasoit, who is the chief of the Wampanoag tribe. That's the ones who met the Pilgrims when we got here, not the Pocahontas one. You're thinking of the Jamestown settlement, if you're thinking of those guns.
Mm-hmm.
And the Wampanoag leader at the time, who was Wamsuta Frank James, or he was an activist, not the leader of the whole tribe, but he was like the one spearheading this. I didn't mean to be offensive. It could have been anything, not a spear.
Could be an arrowhead.
Could be an arrowhead. Could be a hatchet, whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever.
He wanted to draw attention to the full story of Thanksgiving. And this one kind of interests me because I thought that although there's always been an uprising and an outcry for people who are Native Americans in the United States because they've been, so oppressed for so long. But I thought it was much more of a new phenomenon that people would be protesting in that way because, I mean, the Washington Redskins didn't change their name until last year. This is 1970, and they were already like, this is not how Thanksgiving went down. It wasn't a fun feast. It was, a totally fucked up event. And that activist obviously didn't do anything. I mean, I'm sure he did a great protest, and he carried that on his whole life. But I think a kind of cool addition to that is that his granddaughter still does that every Thanksgiving. They go to Plymouth Plantation where the Pilgrims landed, and they go under the statue that was built to Massasoit, and they go, fuck Thanksgiving, which I love Thanksgiving, but I hear what they're saying.
Yeah. Yep.
And that was about 350 plus another 50. So we're almost like 400 years since the Pilgrims landed there. That's their anniversary.
Not a whole lot of time.
Mm-hmm. Which is, 100 plus years since America was even called the 13 colonies. It was just called settlements, and then they made it colonies later. I mean, when we had Plymouth and Jamestown, it wasn't Massachusetts and Virginia. It was just the Plymouth plantation thing and the Jamestown settlement or whatever. Nothing.
Crazy.
There you go.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's wild. It's I do think that it's honorable of granddaughter here who holding up the tradition, but
yeah, they didn't list her name on here, but I hope her name is Wamsuta Francine James.
Wow.
The granddad's name is Wamsuta Frank James, so I hope that she's named after him, but who really knows?
Who knows? So we have 1861. Going to throw out just a couple of ones on here just so we really have a good understanding of what happened on our anniversary. The good and the bad and the ugly and the boring. 1861, first petroleum shipments, which was 1,329 barrels. And is a barrel, how many fucking gallons is that? 40?
I don't know, but yeah, it's actually, there is a direct measurement for it.
Yeah, barrel is not like we just shipped a bunch of barrels. Like a barrel is a standard.
Yeah, it's a standard measurement. I'm looking it up now. You can keep going though.
Yeah, I mean,
it's 42 gallons.
I was pretty close. All right, so we got a 42-gallon barrel.
Yep.
It was 1,329 42-gallon barrels. Left Philadelphia for London, England, on the Elizabeth Watts in 1861. That was our first export of oil to another country.
Wow, and,
fascinating.
Boy, did we like it. We're like, let's do this a lot.
Man, we love doing that. Moving those barrels back and forth, just a real thing.
Yeah, little did they know they were lighting a powder keg, in other words, top of
literally,
oil.
This is
now we barely ever do that. I don't think America ships any of its oil. We maintain our own supply of oil, and we also buy it from other countries. But we don't think we sell a lot of it because we like to stockpile it.
Definitely don't sell a lot of oil. But most importantly, Philadelphia is still just as boring. Still not terrible, but it's still just not. It's just a city that's in somewhere in between DC and New York City and Boston.
I mean, I've never been to Philadelphia besides to drive through it, so I can't talk too much trash about it. But it is funny that in the earliest days of the United States, there was Boston and Philadelphia and Jamestown were like the three heavy hitters if you go that far down. And then it ended up being that Philadelphia completely dropped off. They were going to be the capital of the country. They're like, this is where the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, like it's all happening in Philadelphia. That's where it's all about. Boston had started the revolution, but Philadelphia was like the center point. And then it just was like, New York City.
Yep.
You don't matter anymore. Washington, D.C., Boston still kind of, but not really. Philadelphia, not even like the top 5 U.S. cities people who aren't from the United States would ever mention. But it used to be the most important city, and now it's
not. Yeah, I mean, now like you don't really ever meet anybody who's like, I'm from Philadelphia proper. I don't think they exist. I don't think anyone could actually be from there. Is that a fact, or am I making this up?
Well, I do know it's always sunny there, and I do like that. I can already hear
they don't leave.
My friend Kirsten, who you know her for watching
when we piss her off, is she from Philadelphia? She's actually from Philadelphia. She's not from like the Hudson or Marlboro of Philadelphia. She's from Philly. Philly zip code.
Yeah.
All right, we'll have to let her write in the comments.
So yeah, I love trashing her right now.
And does she live there still?
Well, no, she lives.
I don't think so. All right, okay, all right. Well, the one person came out of Philly, just one. The rest are still there.
You gotta go down to the shop and get a hoagie. I'm moving from Philadelphia up to Massachusetts, dude. Fucking Philadelphia. I'm sure I'll visit one day. I'm sure it's a fun time.
Yeah, I've got some family there, but they're not from there.
No, yeah,
and
also, we get it, Liberty Bell, whatever, Rocky.
Yeah, Rocky. No, weirdly enough, I always thought the Liberty Bell was in Sudbury.
Oh yeah, not to be confused with the John Brown Bell, which is in Marlboro.
Yeah. There was like when I was a kid, I knew about the Liberty Bell when I was very like 3 or 4, and I was like, and then I was like, holy is that it?
The one bell. Yeah, I love that little kid thinking we were like, well, it exists, and I'm looking at it. So
see an old bell, and you're like, is that this Philadelphia where we are right now? Like that's the bell.
The world is so small. Yeah.
Nope.
You see like a clock tower, you're like, that's definitely Big Ben, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like at the Greendale Mall, I was like, this is probably the biggest mall ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Like, yeah, you're in a car ride, and your parents could tell you, yeah, we're almost in Florida, and you'd be like, yeah, I know, sure.
Yeah, someone at work was telling me a story where she is there's this girl from an Indian family, but most of her extended family lives in New Jersey, and they're all Indian, like on the country India.
Yep.
Yeah. And so like, she's from Massachusetts, and they'll go like in the summer, they'll go to New Jersey. And someone was asking her when she got back, and her mom was listening, and was like in the car, and she's like, oh, have you ever been to India? And she's like, yeah. And then her mom's like, really? You've been to India? Because it's a little kid, she like knows where she's been. She's like, yeah, of course. We go every year. She's like, what are you talking about? She goes, we were just there last month. She's like, that's New Jersey. Because everyone who she sees is Indian. She's like, oh, that's India.
Yeah. She goes to India.
India's New Jersey.
India's New Jersey. That's great.
Oh, kids are great.
That's awesome. That's funny. So another famous fact. I mean, words that echoed down the decades, as I always like to say. In 1863,
You always like to say that. I can't.
I do. It's something I always say.
I love it. Don't ever change.
Yeah, I'll never change that one. Just words that echoed down the decades, if not centuries. I mean, at this point, U.S. President Abraham Lincoln delivered the Gettysburg Address.
It's address.
Did I say address? I said address.
Yeah. Gettysburg Address, 102 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Yes, exactly. Yep. 105 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
That's where he gave the Gettysburg Address. And
where he gave the Gettysburg address. Yeah. I said it again.
Foreshadowing. They were both murdered.
Yep. Weird. Yeah, that's where he delivered it and when he delivered it.
Wow.
Pretty crazy.
I mean, obviously that's the famous house divided cannot stand 407 years ago, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
One of the most famous speeches in American history, easily.
Yeah. Top 5, easily top 5.
Easy top 5. Might even be
top 5.
Number 1 most famous, we'll say.
Crazy. Signing of the Treaty of Versailles. 1919.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say that I had lower on my list. The last battle of the First World War happened in November 8th.
So sounds about right.
So it was a couple of weeks later, the Treaty of Versailles, which I'm sure nothing bad came from that, right? Germany was totally happy with the results of that.
Totally fine with that. Yeah.
Nothing. There's no repercussions for that. They basically said, you owe us just $2 trillion. And they're like, I don't even know what a trillion is. They're like, it's fine. They'll just pay us forever.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, we're going to blame some people who don't have representation in this country then.
Exactly. And they were told they had to sell. They're like, you got to pay back all this money. So you start selling shit. So Germany's like selling shit.
They were annexing parts of Germany too, like the Rhinelands and shit. They're like, that's yours now. I mean, it tore Germany to shreds. Again, I'm not trying to sympathize with Germany here because obviously they started it. So, if you have to pay the consequences, it's fine. But at the same time, looking back at history now, a lot of historians are like, that directly led to World War II. The Treaty of Versailles and fucking Germany over directly led to them going apeshit again and blaming a bunch of people.
Well, no matter how, especially if you're already being punished for being bad. Yeah. Imagine
why don't I just be bad? It's like being in prison. You're like, if I stab this guy, who cares? I'm doing life.
Well, it's like, let's say you get a speeding ticket and they're like, all right, we got you for going 10 over or whatever it is. And then we got you for going 10 over yesterday and 10 over before. And you're like, just fucking add another one. Like, what's the point? Who cares? At this point, I already owe you $30,000. What's another one?
Yeah, add it to my tab.
At this point, what the fucking cares,
Yeah. And if I invade a bunch of countries, maybe I won't even not owe you money. I'll actually gain money, and maybe I'll even get the Mona Lisa as a little bonus check.
It's definitely a bonus, still in all the artwork. But they also were told that they could only have an army of 40,000 people, and they were like, "Yeah,
that's hilarious.
That's just not going to work for us."
That's like smaller than like the armies that happened in like when people had in the Bronze Age. Like
that's like one battle, like of people with swords and shields. Like when it was like the 300, versus some of those things. It was like there's 40,000 of them versus 300. Like that's
there was like countries that were like major powers in ancient times that had an army of like 50,000 troops, and they were like the badass, like they have 50,000 soldiers. And it was like, back in those times too, it wasn't like we have like forts all over and they're like, here's one platoon. It was like, this is the army, just moves. It's all of them together.
Oh yeah.
Like, you put all your eggs in one basket. If the army leaves and you sneak up behind them and you take the city and they have to go back and get it. Like they're just all together.
That's a good point.
But yeah, it's interesting to be like, Germany, you're a modern nation. You owe us, trillions of dollars, and you get to keep 40,000 troops, and they can't use guns. They have to use like swords and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. They were like, you're allowed 40,000 troops and 15 jeeps and
yeah, they're like counting like how many internal combustion engines they can outfit.
Yeah, literally, like they were like down to that type of thing. It's like if you're in that position where you're sitting on the church bench at school because you're in detention, it's like I could also just say no and fuck you.
Yeah, in for a penny, in for a Deutschmark at that point. You're already invested.
Right. Yep, that is true.
Absolutely.
So what do you got? What else do you got?
I have the most recent one, November, the second most recent, because I have this day in history one.
November 22nd, 1963.
No, this is not.
Okay, just checking.
No, sorry. Yeah, I won't take yours. This is December 1st, 1564.
Wow.
So that's 2 days ago.
Yep.
In 1564, Spanish vessels left a secret port in Mexico. Mm-hmm. And if we remember from the last pod, 1577 is when the Spanish Armada took a dive. So it's a little before that. So Spain is still riding high on their naval power. Their goal was to sail across the Pacific and back, charting a new route for international trade and giving Spain an edge against its chief colonial rival, Portugal. Again, at this time in history, Spain and Portugal were the biggest powers in the colonies. What the fuck was that? What happened to them, huh? They really took too many siestas.
Yeah, they really don't care anymore. Like they
really don't give a shit.
They're just like, we have historic landmarks from when we did these things, and we have good food.
They're like, you can thank us for Florida, okay?
Yep. Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So,
I mean, all the oldest cities, if you don't count, obviously Native Americans, all the oldest cities in America are all Spanish colonies or Spanish settlements, in like Florida and stuff.
Yep. Florida, definitely St. Augustine and.
Unfortunately, a storm hit, which is kind of foreshadowing for what happens in 1577. A storm hit, and the smallest ship was separated from the rest of the fleet. It was all on its own. And the following year, it made it back to Mexico. So it left Mexico and didn't get back to the following year because the storm hit. But don't worry. The ship's pilot, they call it, or the ship driver, he was accused of treason when he got back. So imagine that.
Really worked out well for him.
He spent a whole year at sea. You're like, I'm gonna die. The Pacific Ocean definitely is way bigger than they thought it was, because all the shit at that time was the Atlantic, and you just pop across. You're like, the Pacific's probably the same size as that. You just go the other side. Pacific is like 3 times as wide on that side. It's insanely. I mean, Hawaii is like the same distance as like England to Massachusetts is like California to Hawaii. So, or even more. It's even more than that. And Hawaii is like at the halfway point. So, I mean, the Pacific Ocean is massive.
No, I'm just so confused. So they're going to the Pacific? Did they have to go around Russia? Like, how did they get there?
They were, I think they were thinking they were going to hit Asia or like, hit Russia, because they were trying to like find a faster route than having to go across the Atlantic. And then they realized, oh, it's way, way bigger. Like they wouldn't even hit Hawaii before they were like, we must be done, right? It's like, you're not even halfway there. So they were fucked from the start.
Even if you got to like the top of like Russia, where like North Korea is, to get to Hawaii from there.
Yeah. I mean,
and
they left from Mexico. So that's quite a trek. Even to get to like Japan would just take so much time. Yeah, I'm guessing they just figured it was like the Atlantic Ocean, but they didn't realize it's so much bigger. So this poor bastard gets back and is accused of treason. And excuse me, I don't think that they look favorably upon him. I don't know the end of the tale, unfortunately. Sorry.
Well, it just reminds me of like some of the other stories that we sort of touched upon with like Admiral Byrd and the Antarctica, and then in the North Pole, like the HMS Terror and
I mean, the
other
balls
ship as
on
well.
these people the balls to actually go out there and do this stuff. Like,
but
I'm
also,
not even gonna drive if I'm low on a tank on gas and I have any threat of having to get stuck on the side of the road in civilization and I have money. I can't imagine being like, let's go to Antarctica and maybe we won't come back. I would never do it.
Yeah, but the balls, but also the how funny it is when they're like, yeah, it's gonna be a 6-month journey, turns into a 3-year journey.
Yeah, because they think they know it, but they don't know anything. I mean, imagine if someone just said, like, here's your backpack full of food. Keep walking that way until you find this thing that's supposed to exist. There's no way I would ever do it. Like, it's probably 6 weeks away, but I don't know though.
Yeah, we don't know. We don't know the conditions. We don't realize
3
that
years away. We don't.
You're sailing through here, and it makes sense in the summer. Then the weather changes, and then the water around you is frozen. Then you're stuck in ice for 6 months, and it should unfreeze itself in a few months. But it's been a bad year, so it stays frozen for 3 years, and then
it's all guesswork, and you're just wrong all the time, and your life is in the balance every time you're wrong. I mean, it's just terrifying.
Yeah,
but they're brave. Yeah, maybe dumb, maybe ignorant, but very brave, and probably better at survival than I am. I mean, I would be like, do we have any really heavy rocks we can hit my head with? Because I'm really not looking forward to starving to death on this ship in the doldrums.
Yeah, seriously. Well, and that's how most of that worked out. They all ended up dying anyway, so
yeah,
shitty.
But we remember them always on a podcast we like to call the Dylan Show.
We talk about our folks.
Sorry.
So
I got two more of this week in history.
Yeah, give me one of them, then I'll rattle one off again. I mean, I got like,
okay.
Yeah.
This one is I'm trying to bring it to a little more modern times here. In 1976, on this day, December 3rd, the reggae musician, I think you might have heard of him, his name's Bob Marley.
I've heard of that guy. Yep.
He survived an assassination attempt by 7 gunmen.
You kidding me? I didn't know this.
Imagine trying to be assassinated by 7 people with guns, and you survive it only to die much later of not assassination. I think it was cancer that took him, right?
I don't know.
I'll look it up as I'm talking here. But yeah, I never knew he was attempted to be assassinated too. I mean, I imagine it's because like of all his political ideals, and he's such a large cultural figure, kind of like I mean, obviously not exactly for civil rights, but like a Martin Luther King kind of figure, where the government's like, we can't have this guy around. He's fucking shit up for us. And he had a lot of ideas about cannabis and being a Rastafarian and Pan-Africanism and all that good stuff. So obviously, he had cancer. So he ended up dying of cancer, not a gunshot wound. So guy's a badass.
And
interesting. He died in 1981 in Miami. He was only 36. Died of cancer. Brutal.
Jeez. Yeah, that's.
But it wasn't those gunmen that took him down.
Nope. Yeah, I don't know how you survive that type of fucking thing.
I don't know, man.
7 gunmen? No thanks, man.
Yeah, it's fucking scary. You'd be watching your back from then on out. But yeah, that was on December 3rd, 1976.
Damn. December 3rd, 1976. So on this day in history, November 19th, it's a bunch of other shit. Like this thing went into orbit. This person's opened this first movie. Richard Nixon went to Hanoi in 1953, you know.
Oh, whatever. Wow, that's a little foreshadowing for you there. Richard Nixon went to Hanoi.
Yep.
Way before. He's like, this will look pretty soon. Our kids are gonna take this over pretty soon. These Frenchmen are getting out of here.
Fuck that guy. So yeah, so I've got some just other things about like
whatever happened to Richard Nixon's son. You think it's an Ivan Terrible situation?
I know so.
He took out Dick Jr.
Yes. Yep. Dick Nixon Jr. killed by
and Dick Jr.
Richard Nixon Sr.
I'm not a crook. I'm a patricide murderer. Infanticide. Sorry.
Fucking dickbag. In 53, he was just a senator or
yeah. He was well off of being president. It wasn't until another 20 years, I think.
Yeah, dummy. So so this is cool. So December 19th, physicist Thomas Andrews. Good old Tommy. We call him Tommy Andrews.
Tommy Andy, we call him.
Guess what country he's from?
Czechoslovakia.
Close. Ireland.
All right, Tommy Andrews there.
Yeah. Irish chemist and physicist Thomas Andrews. He discovered the ozone in 1813. Wow.
You got to give it up for Irish chemist. I would have thought that he was trying to make the cleanest single malt. I didn't know Irish people were chemists that actually discovered real shit.
Yeah, right. I know. Yeah, you wouldn't think that.
The ozone layer, huh? So he discovered the ozone molecule, whatever. I think it's oxygen 3. It's 3 oxygen molecules together.
I didn't know. I had no idea.
Or atoms together, I think. Yeah, I think that's what ozone is. O3. O2 is what we breathe. And O1 is not really found commonly because it usually binds to something. Either it's another oxygen atom or it's maybe hydrogen. And then you get water.
Okay, gotcha. All right.
Yeah. So I think ozone's O3.
Interesting. I don't know if this is less or more interesting, but another Irish guy in 1868, industrialist Harry S. Firestone discovered Firestone tires.
He was like,
wow, look what I found.
My word, this will be great. The Baltimore wagon. Look at this thing.
So one Harvey
last years and years.
Harvey Firestone is not Irish, and he didn't discover the Firestone tire. He invented Firestone tires.
Right.
But that's what those
the Irish guy discovered the Firestone.
It's tire. It's like the banana was invented in 1865 by Stephen F. Banana. And you go, got it. Okay, see where that came from.
Frank Ocean discovered this large body of salt water. He decided to name it after himself.
Exactly what I'm saying here. Can you help me understand this one? Or anyone want to write in? Richard Arkwright doesn't say what country he's from, but we can only assume that it's not
Ireland. Yugoslavia.
Yeah, probably Yugoslavia. Richard Arkwright in 1732 invented the spinning frame. I mean, is this a piece of art or is this something that actually does something? I mean, what is a spinning frame?
I have no idea.
Can you look that up?
First thought it was about to be like a frame of like how cars have frames and stuff, where it's not necessarily like a picture frame.
Yeah, but like, is this spinning house? I mean, is this the fucking house and?
It's spinning like spinning yarn. It's a
that thing that looks like this.
It's a device that
like that fucking long.
And it can spin yarn and wool in a mechanized way. It looks like there's a turning wheel, and you probably kind of push it with your foot, kind of like the old sewing machine, and you can kind of spin yarn with a machine rather than having to do it with your hands.
I think I had one of those. I got one of those on the side of the road one time. It was pretty cool.
This looks pretty large.
Oh, it's a little bigger than that. Okay.
It looks like the size of like an arcade machine.
Okay. All right.
But just so you know, there's also on Amazon spinning picture frames for sale. So you weren't too far off.
Okay. I knew I was onto something with that.
But it doesn't spin like this. It spins like this.
So you can have both. It's kind of like where you get Christmas vacation cards at Christmas tree shop.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly right.
All right. Well, more important on that is 1925. Mr. Peanut was registered as a trademark, and guess what that guy's last name was?
Peanut?
I wish. It doesn't tell me, so it just says Mr. Peanut. So
doesn't Mr. Peanut have a first name?
No, it just says that's how that went down.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if he does have a first name though. Like, the Monopoly Man is named Uncle Pennybags, but you just always call him the Monopoly Man. But he has a real name. It's Uncle Pennybags.
And also, he's involved in the Mandela effect because apparently
he's involved in the Watergate scandal with Richard Nixon.
For all we know, he also never had a monocle.
Oh yeah, people just thought he did because he had a cane, so they figured he had a monocle.
Right? No, the thing is that's great, Joe, but he always had a monocle.
Well, he has a monocle. He always did.
Always had a monocle on his eye in every game
he
ever played, and now all of a sudden he doesn't. I don't know that's why.
I don't know. I'm looking at him right now. First appearance, 1916. He's got a monocle.
Then what's up with this? That was right.
So no, that means that people thought he didn't have a monocle, and that's the Mandela effect. Because in my mind, he has a monocle.
I always thought he had a monocle,
and he does. So I think it all worked out. No Mandela effect.
This is how the Mandela effect works. One day you're like, it's Berenstein Bears. Then it's like, no, it's actually Berenstain. Then all of a sudden you're like, oh yeah, the Mandela effect, Berenstein. They're like, no, it's Berenstain. Like it's Berenstein. Then you look it up and it says Steen everywhere.
Yeah, no, it says even when he was first introduced in 1916, he had a top hat, a monocle, and white gloves and spats. So there you go. And it was he was voiced by Bill Hader in 2013. I didn't know that. On the commercials.
When did he ever talk?
And I think in new commercials, because the Robert Downey Jr. did it before that. I think in the new commercials they started giving him celebrity voice actors to try to make him more hip. But he also had Baby Nut and Peanut Jr., which sounds gross.
He had a little small, easy to clean up nut. He had large nut, big nut,
peanut,
cum shot, whatever else he wanted.
Jizz, cum shot,
jizz, like cum shot. Oh my God, dude, holy shit! Speaking of that, in 1935, a patent for Monopoly was received by Charles Darrow.
Wow,
wow! All this shit comes around. I mean, this is like all coming around this time of year. All this shit's happening.
This shit happened in November.
This is so lame. I mean, I'm sure it's fine, but it's just, I don't know. The Rosie O'Donnell show was started on December 22nd, 1998.
Hell yeah. Koosh balls. She's flinging them in the audience. She was the original Ellen, where she was like a great comedian at the time. Everyone loved her. She was America's sweetheart. She was a secret lesbian. And then she's actually a really harsh, terrible asshole in real life, but everyone loved her.
Yeah.
She was just great. So like Ellen kind of like janked her style,
Yeah, she came first. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was in a bunch.
Well, when it comes to Rosie O'Donnell and Ellen, who do you think would come first?
It's a great question. That's a real good question. I don't know.
Have you seen Ellen's wife though? She's in Arrested Development.
Yeah, Chanel Twain or whatever her name is.
Shania Twain. No.
Chanel. Portia.
I think her name's
O'Reilly.
Portia. Yeah, her name's Portia or something.
I said Portia O'Reilly.
Portia
like
O'Reilly. Yeah,
Portia.
She's the heiress to the O'Reilly Auto Parts. Portia.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's why they named her Portia. Yeah.
Portia McNally. Is her last name Portia? No, her first name is Portia.
Her first name is Portia. Yeah.
All right. If anyone could ever figure out her last name, we'd really appreciate someone telling us. Portia
de Rossi.
Really?
Wow. Her name is just a fucking car. That sounds like an absolute car.
Yeah. Lame name though. I'm like, that's on a scale of names of people I trust at a 1.
I wonder if she took Ellen's last name, her name would be Portia de Rossi Degenerate. DeMarco.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. So
why don't I wrap up?
You wrap us up, and then we'll go into part 2 that everyone's waiting for.
Sounds good.
It's gonna be some good shit. So
this one did it was interesting to me, and it again happened today in history. So it actually is December 3rd. And it made me feel old. And so similar to the way where I've had such a fantastic year with you recording this podcast, but the fact that it's already been a year since we started really just blows by. And this one is in 1994. So I was 2 years old, you're maybe 2 or 3. Sony released the PlayStation, the first video game platform to ship 100 million units.
Wait, that came out in 1993?
94. Yeah.
I didn't get that till I was like 5. I thought
I didn't get it till probably like 1998, 1999 or something like that.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2000 by the time I got it. But yeah, that was 27 years ago.
That's insane. That? No, actually, I got it in 98 because it came with NASCAR 98.
Oh, right on.
That's why I know.
I got it with a dual shock where they had the 2 analog sticks.
Me too. Yeah.
So so if you first got it, it had just a boomerang thing. It had no analog sticks. So we wouldn't have had that version. We got the version that was like the updated thing.
Yep.
Yeah, my Uncle Steven got it for me actually.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, no, we got ours, and then I got like a manila envelope that had NASCAR 98. And
you got a manila envelope with the game. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Like slipping like a secret CIA file. You're like, hey, take this. You're like, this is NASCAR, the video game. It's in 3D. This shit's rocks.
So good. So fun.
And you're probably like, this is basically real life. Like at the time, you're like, this is basically
real life. It was exactly real life. That was like literally driving a NASCAR car. The sounds were good. The opening song was Kiss dun, 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 dun.
You know any words at all? Yeah, sorry, I can't think of that one.
I don't, but it was the opening. So when you turned it on, it was just such a great game.
Rock and rolling. Yeah, NASCAR probably has one of the best soundtracks of any of these sports games because they pick all kinds of crazy songs like Kiss and stuff like that.
Like so many Kiss songs for NASCAR events.
My mom actually got me a steering wheel with pedals for the PlayStation, so played Need for Speed Hot Pursuit, and that was the shit. Driving around in your car and getting chased by the cops way before I ever played Grand Theft Auto. I was like, this is probably the coolest thing of all time.
Oh yeah, that's insane. Yeah, Need for Speed with
it was like a Mad Catz like steering wheel and pedals, and you put the steering wheel on your lap and the pedals on the ground, and you're off to the races.
It's awesome.
So yeah, it's been an anniversary of Sony PlayStation. Now Sony PlayStation. Probably the most popular video game console line. I mean, PlayStation 2 is still the best selling video game console of all time.
Because it was fucking worth it. It was such a good console. But yeah, that's a good anniversary. So
happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
All those things we talked about.
Yep. And we got part 2 coming up now about we'll save it for after this break, but that's this day in history. And to add to that, the most recent thing is November 19th, 2020. First episode airs of the Dylan Joe Basement Podcast. Jesus was an alien. We'll see you guys after this break.
That will live in infamy.
All right, quick pee break, and then we'll be back. Welcome back, folks. Part 2, Dylan Joe Basement Podcast, episode 43. That's what you said, right? And
anniversary
episode of our 40th. So 1 year, 43 episodes, 2, 3, 4 special broadcasts of Trapdoor, or 3?
Yeah, 3 Trapdoors, and then the 2 most popular videos we ever made. The Orange Monolith and the Noble Lighthouse as well for the other Trapdoor special broadcast.
Yep. So other statistics, 2 to 10 beers per episode. Never less, never more so far. So that's arguably we're looking at now we're taking 43 times an average of meet you halfway 5. So that's over 200 beers drank. 200 beers drank. Possibly 80 plus slices of pizza. And
I'd say at least 22 Juul pods smoked.
At least 22 Juul pods smoked. Millions of hours of editing on Joe's part. And
usually longer than the episode. So
in a timeless set of memories and fun that will last forever. So we've got you here today. Yep. And we do have a quick update. We're not fucking around at all about one of our Trapdoor episodes, if you can remember, Orange Monolith.
Who could forget? 2
things. So we'll start with the good, bad, and the ugly. Well, we'll start with the bad.
Okay, bad news first.
And then the good. And there is no ugly. Okay. Besides the Orange Monoliths. So
the ugly is the monolith.
Yeah, that's the ugly. So the bad is these fuckers are expanding like the game Plague Inc. on your phone. Like the shit's blown up. Like
I can't think of a better analogy than the game Plague Inc. There's nothing else going on in the world right now that might be
nothing. Just like the game Plague Inc. Yeah. They are multiplying at a rapid rate, and there are now hundreds of them.
Oh my God.
I was literally on a side road in what fucking town was that? Like Danvers, Peabody, fucking
Not Shaw.
Andover area, and like I was looking through the woods and I could see one through the trees of a place I didn't even fucking know.
You're shitting me. Oh my God.
They're everywhere. Yeah. And then people have written in, said they're all sorts of places. Well, as they're expanding, one of them got removed. We had a warning of this had actually happened.
We had inside info. Yeah.
On the CEO of Cummings Properties fucking desk, and he watched our fucking video of me in a neck brace, and it got pulled down from New Horizons in Marlboro. It's gone.
It's gone.
Thanks to us.
Affecting change in the world.
If somebody, because we might do it, but if somebody wants to let the news know this makes a story. Local fucking idiot in neck brace makes this stupid ass YouTube video and gets one of these things taken down from the Cummings Properties.
Everyone cheers. Everyone agrees.
Yes, everyone agreed with that one.
Yep. Yeah, when I was at Thanksgiving, my uncle, who shall not be named, who works for Cummings Properties, he's the one who told me about the email that was sent out to all the people who work for the company that they're gonna move the monolith. He told me on Thanksgiving, he's like, they just moved it yesterday. They removed it from the sign,
but they all got an email.
It was a whole to do because it's plate metal, like the kind of metal you put on a street when you're covering up like a pothole in the construction. That's what it's made out of. Plus the cement disc that must weigh a ton just to support it. So that thing is like lifting up a fucking car.
Oh yeah. So thousands of employees got an email that said that New Horizons in Marlboro, this shit's coming down.
Yeah. The Cummings, the CEO, said, I don't want any bad press.
Surprise. We don't know what our plans are yet, but we really got to think about this one, because if you don't want any bad press, wake up, my friend. Part of why we did this is because, people who live at that particular place, they spend their last thousands of dollars to live there.
Oh, it's not cheap to live there at all.
No. Depending on how your level of care, it's insane. And then no matter how big the company that Cummings is that owns it, people still go, hey, I just paid, $15,000 a month at the craziest level to live here, and you went and spent $12,000 on this fucking thing. Like,
yeah,
you go,
just
that's
make it uglier.
Like, you could have like, if you had that extra money, couldn't you have just given some people some free food or something, like help them pay their rent, or I don't know, like,
yeah, it would have had a better effect and probably better press for him if he's worried about press. But
instead of a corporate greed, like, we're gonna make known all our properties so everyone knows it's us. It's like,
using more of an
elderly care facility. These people are gonna die here probably. So you want them. That's the last thing they fucking see. Like, get tasteful, like untasteful, bitch.
Gross orange eyesore.
So yeah, you want any bad press? That's so funny. Did he share the YouTube link?
I'm sorry.
Did he share the YouTube link?
Not in the email, but he did watch the video, or it was brought to his attention. That's why he made the decision.
God. So I just want to tell you guys that this is something we really
we're shaking the world.
Shaking the world. And no one knows what's next, what we'll find.
Mm-hmm.
We were going to shake one.
Who knows?
Thing.
That was only 1 year in. Who knows what we'll do?
1 year in. We got tens of years left. And we were going to shake something else in 95, but it did get changed. It was called Freedom Fertility. That was our next fucking stop, but it's no longer the octopus. Now they have an F or something. It looked like a squid was their logo. And we're like, what is that?
Nice.
But we are keeping our eyes peeled. And if anybody knows of anything that can make this happen, we've got 2 representatives in the East Coast. We're happy for a road trip to go discuss and politely acknowledge local happenings around us.
We're not really the press. We're making entertaining videos that maybe if they convince people to do things, that's up to them.
Yeah,
we're not the press.
No, we're not. We're really not. We're not the press.
We're here to inform you.
I don't know if you guys are confused, but we're not a news agency. I think it's the first time we've said that, but we're not.
Yeah, I'm glad that we on the anniversary episode explicitly say
we're coming clean. We're not a news agency.
No. And don't forget, when you listen to our awesome and well thought out ideas, that we're the 2 morons that are doing the podcast. So don't take it too seriously. Exactly. Definitely don't make large scale company decisions based on what we're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah. Do you think that he was confused? Like, he was like, wow, this is like
I don't know.
This is like like
I think that he probably just saw like all the people in the Marlboro page all saying like this sucks and everything, and he just like, oh, there's so much negative.
Didn't get one person on the Facebook page who was like, I leave him alone.
Great. Yeah, no, everyone was like,
everyone was like, yep, this is hilarious, and fuck that shit. Like that's pretty much how it went down.
So I think he got convinced that way, if I had to guess.
Yeah. Well, if you're in a town and you have a town page and you have some things going on there that people are questioning,
let us know.
We only did solo trapdoors recently, but we definitely need a dual trapdoor double person edition, news reporting agency edition of say you have a new statue that went up in the town hall, up front of town hall.
Looks gross or stupid. It's for a person you don't like. We'll go down there. We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll definitely make known that. We'll make sure that your company page knows as well. I mean, sorry, well that too, but your
town page.
Too, so yeah, so back at it. 43 episodes. Joe, yeah, it's been a great year.
It has been. Year. I thought I'd bring up a couple of questions for us just to ruminate on the old episodes. I thought we'd look back with our.
I love them. I love what you're doing. Yeah, let's do it. Mm-hmm.
And well, first I want to talk about, or the second thing I want to talk about is our guests, but I don't want to lead off with that. But I want to talk about the first question that I had was, which topic that we've covered do you think most deserves second dive, maybe a second bite at the apple? And it might help you to pull up our page right now. I'm looking at it just so I can see all the episodes we did, because 43 episodes ain't nothing to shake a stick at. I mean, that's just hours of us talking about stuff, and it's a lot of shit.
Yeah. Oh my God. Second dive.
Not saying we have to do it. I'm just saying, like, what?
No, it's a great question.
We have to get into it again, maybe.
Yeah, I think. I mean, this sounds crazy, but top 10 birds.
maybe we take another swing at that.
We're gonna take another swing at that. Top 10 birds. Time.
That'd be great. Second episode 50. Top 10 birds. Redux.
Top 10 birds. Top 10 birds. 2. I think we could do. I just so the only reason I'm saying this is just because the amount of information out there that we didn't cover, and that is just almost impossible to cover, is there's gonna be another episode on something like this. Like, I don't know if we had saved the second dive, but it just might be more specific. But it's somewhere between UFOs, UAPs, and ancient aliens. I just gotta say, like, and the thing is, we did arguably three episodes on this already, and I feel like we haven't even touched the surface.
Much like a flying saucer, we haven't touched the surface. No, I agree. That was my answer too, is that of course that's kind of like
so much
a cornerstone of our podcast is talking about extraterrestrials and UAPs, UFOs, stuff like that. So that would be my answer too, because usually we tear that apple to shreds and there's nothing but the core left. But when it comes to aliens, we left a lot of meat on that apple. I think it's worth another bite.
Absolutely. It's a hard place to start. I mean, we
always run out of time. It's just you can't pack it all into one podcast.
Yeah.
And there's always new information coming out.
Well, that's kind of the big thing too, is that there's a change of information, a change of understanding, and then just constantly new information, new people coming forward, new things. Like, it needs to be analyzed. It needs to be talked about more. Like, there's just so many details, so many specific events. I mean, we can make a podcast out of say there's, 1 million sightings a year or something like that. Let's just say, and 0.1% of those are actually credible. Every single one of those 0.1s could be a whole podcast.
Yeah. I mean, that's just an astronomical number.
Yep, exactly. And even Elon Musk came out recently, said something about aliens. Like, it's just a constant flow, and it's just getting closer and closer to.
Oh, he's looking at that dash cam of that Tesla up there, and he's probably seeing all kinds of shit,
Yeah, he may be.
Still broadcasting.
Yep, still broadcasting. Is it really still broadcasting?
No, I'm kidding about that. No, it's just up there.
Yeah,
they don't want to pay to maintain the satellite connection, like to be able to communicate between like us and Voyager. It's insane to be able to do that.
Yeah,
and you have to build it for that. He just built it to just fly up there and do that thing.
For a few
months, it would be really amazing though if we had if our first confirmed UFO like crash, and we like took it apart and discovered everything, but it was totally open and out in the open. And we were like, what is this thing? And it was the equivalent of like their Elon Musk sending a fucking car.
Yeah.
Like, what is this all about? And it's literally just like an alien car they sent up as like a stunt.
Yep. Well, it's kind of like Oumuamua, the that big turd shaped asteroid that came from another universe or another galaxy or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. Like that might have been their version of it because they have the technology. So the funny thing is they have the technology to put a rock that big in space. We don't. So
yeah.
Well,
even the size of the rockets we put up, the part that actually gets up there is like whatever 5% of the total mass of the thing. So yeah, it's hard to get shit that big.
Yeah, to put a mass of something the size of the Empire State Building made of just rock without any propulsion or any videos or fucking songs playing. We can't do that.
Forget it. Yeah. We at least have to put a picture of ourselves on that thing.
That's oh yeah. That's a fact. Yeah, no question. So
that reminds me, did I talk about the new propulsion system that this company is developing? It's a crazy idea. It's so obviously we've thought or learned about rail guns before, right? So it's
rail guns are sick.
Magnets accelerating an object, past the speed of sound to the part where so you're not using explosives to have a projectile move. You're using electromagnetic energy, which is much more efficient. It can make it much faster. I mean, the same projectile going at 5 times the speed of a bullet can go through 5 times as many iron walls, because it's not really about how much of a big boom you make. It's about how fast can I make this thing go. And that's why railguns are so lethal. The only reason why they aren't used more prevalently is because you have to store up a massive amount of energy to actually get the thing to wind up and use all that. So right now we don't have a way of doing it efficiently, but I think that in the future we will. But there's a more simple solution. The Occam's razor of it all. The simplest answer is most often the real answer. People thought of an idea of, well, we're using 9% of the rocket just to store fuel and get it up to the upper end of the atmosphere. And then the last 5% is just getting the thing out of there. Why don't we get it all the way up there and just use the amount of fuel you need to leave the final part of the atmosphere? But how do we do that? We're just going to throw it? Yes. That's their idea. They've built this prototype that they've worked out in the computer where it's basically a spinning disc, but it's put at an angle like so.
And it does.
And it just rotates so fast. It takes like a couple hours and a ton of energy, like a railgun, to wind this thing up. And it starts spinning to the point where you couldn't have a human being on board because the G-forces would be ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. No way.
Yeah. But as far as like launching up, like how SpaceX did, they launch up like satellites and stuff. And they had this whole, rocket booster system. This idea is just to spin it around so fast and then just let it rock. And it just goes out at an angle. And it has so much force behind it that it takes very little actual ignition to just take off into space. And I think that's such a cool idea. Just instead of like launching satellites by just rockets and Cape Canaveral and shit, just fucking slingshot this thing, like whip it like a fastball.
Yeah, you're literally just whipping it like this and throwing it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I hope over the next 5 years that'll be built.
Dude, I hope this is built and I hope we can go see it, because can you imagine?
Oh, man.
Can you imagine how loud that's going to be? So you have
just spinning. I mean, faster than any. And the RPMs must be out of.
So here's the thing: is so you're going to have an electrical induction motor type sound.
It's like all electrical.
Yeah, it's going to sound like the trolley and the green line. It's going to have that like or Tesla electric car.
The winding.
And then it's going to have wind noise. Plus, it's going to be breaking the sound barrier once it hits 7. So it's going to be cracking and it's going to be like like you're going to be like, what the fuck is that? And then again, like you said, it's going to have to take a few minutes or hours to get to a speed of exiting the atmosphere before, so it could arguably be getting up to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13,000 miles an hour before they let it go.
It would have to, because of the amount of force you need to actually leave the atmosphere. I mean, how fast a rocket goes, it would have to do that without any actual rocket fuel.
So the sound of this thing is going to be insane. I mean, you're going to have, usually when someone's breaking the sound barrier, as you know, a whip will do it. If you use a whip, a whip will break the sound barrier. I'm trying to think of the things on the ground. Bullets, obviously, that type of thing.
Missiles can do it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But most of these things, besides the whip, are things that are passing by you quickly. This is going to be that. It's instead of passing by quickly, it's going to be contained in it's
breaking the sound barrier right next to you, right? Yeah.
So it's going to be constantly breaking the sound barrier right there, and you can't Like it's not like it's going over and you go, wow, that was loud. It's going to be just cracking. It's going to be insanely loud. They're
gonna have to pay whatever township so much money to build it there because it's going to be a fucking like crazy thing to have around.
So crazy. It'd be so cool. I hope this happens.
But again, rocket launches are pretty fucking loud themselves.
So, they're about the loudest things you can. That's actually I think the loudest thing you can go and see for the most part. I mean, they are
rocket launch,
insanely loud. So that reminds me quickly of there's another idea. I don't think it's going to happen because I think that I just imagine tire wear being a weird thing, but the new airport they're thinking of is looks like Daytona Speedway. Actually not Daytona. It looks more like a perfect circle.
The band from Maynard Keenan, the lead
yes, Tool. Yeah, like Tool's other thing. Well, James Maynard Keenan's other thing. But so airplanes take off and land in a speedway type of thing that's banked really hard. So they're
building up speed like in a lap.
Yeah, and then they take off and they're like, theoretically it should work. I'm like, yeah, but one side of the airplane is getting all the G-forces on the wheels. But as the faster it goes, the less G-force it is on like a car where cars have downforce. It's like doing the opposite. Yeah. So, but overall, if they're like, all right, we're taking off at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, I'd be like, in a 747, I'd be like,
everyone's in their seats like this.
Yeah, literally like this. And you're like, okay. And then it's like taking off and it's like sideways. Or like, I don't know. I feel a little weird about that. I don't know.
It'd be nerve-wracking because there's no end of the runway. It's just more runway in front of you constantly. So that would be very scary to
Well, and if shit hits the fan, you just get launched off of it like a bike ramp.
Yeah, there's no like what do they call it? Like the emergency landing, like if you fail the takeoff and you do the emergency the emergency landing would be like bank hard left really hard and try to lose momentum as you just hold back on that throttle.
Well, and to keep a 747 on that thing, you've been to these tracks, the banking is insane. It doesn't look it when you're on it, but they're like they're like this steep,
And they don't even have wings. They're literally like just a little pill against the edge of that. So you'd have to have the embankment account for an entire wing to not scrape it.
Well, and last I checked, I have not seen anyone complain about the length of runways. Like
I've never worried about it myself.
Yeah. We already have plenty of airports.
In fact, I don't mind if they're extra long, just in case we need some more room.
Nothing wrong with extra long. It's fine. So I'm sure too long, not wide is weird, but it's fine. So anyway, so it sounds like you got some more questions to turn us on. So what do you got?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm here to turn you on and to turn the listeners on. Oh yeah, my second one was if you can remember one of your favorite jokes on the show. I didn't think of a lot of them. I mean, if I went back and looked at all of them, they're all fantastic. I listened to 2 today, but I have one that I told, which my favorite one I ever told because I laughed so hard at it, and you were just like, "Shut up, dude."
My favorite jokes.
I'll go with the first one that I thought of, which is when we were doing the episode, The History of Giants. I came up with the idea of someone having a foot fetish, but it was about how many feet tall something is. So you have a foot fetish and you're into like Shaquille O'Neal because he's 7 feet tall. And I just it really tickled me.
I like that one. That's good. I'd say since you turned me on to this, I like we talk about when things were invented. Like
yeah, that is your best one.
Yeah,
like the banana was invented.
I come to, and I also really we got to get back into measuring things in gorilla.
Oh, we've definitely. I mean, we came up with that during the podcast. It was so long. I mean, I think it was around the history of Giants.
Probably Giants. Yeah, yes. Giants, because we would.
So compare, that was definitely 10 months ago when we did that episode. When we first did the.
Giants was 10 months ago.
Yeah.
What?
I mean, Giants was one of our earliest ones. It was only it was like episode 10.
Yeah, I saw Clowns was in April, and I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
Yeah, April? Clowns was 7 months ago. Yeah.
Crazy. So yeah, I'd say those two. Those are two of my favorite jokes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And for the rest of it, just refer to the last 2 minutes of every episode. We always put the best stuff.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to know, last 2 minutes highlights.
They're the best jokes in there. So I wanted to take this portion of the podcast to talk about the guests we've had on the show, which we got so much better.
Yeah, we got to shout out to those motherfuckers for showing up and kicking fucking ass, because I don't know if you guys know, but we fucking love our guests and we love having our guests on, and those episodes always end up being fucking smoking hot.
They're hot. They're hot. They're so too hot to touch. You got to wear.
Yeah, our smoking hot guests. Is that what we call them now?
Hottest guests.
Oh, hottest guests. But everybody is the hottest guest. Sorry, Dom.
I wanted to run down the list of our guests and just kind of reminisce a little bit. First of all, we have
guest number 1.
Andrew, our oldest guest we ever had. He was on 2 episodes early on. We have to get him back on again because he really did help us out with the guesting so early on. He was on episode like 3,
5 or 4,
and then episode
crypto
like 7. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. He was Sun in a Box first, then crypto.
Yeah, he was on 2 episodes in our first 10 episodes, which he was our only guest at the time. Which was still our favorite guest. So shout out to Andrew.
Yeah, and since then I have crypto and I have
a nuclear fusion device in your house.
And I do have a nuclear fusion device in my house. The closest thing I have is this to a nuclear fusion device is this shoe polisher I got from Savers that's made by Dremel, and it's from like the 50s. Pretty sweet. Don't know how it works, but I just press a button and it starts spinning. Could be nuclear power for all I know.
The closest I have is a microwave.
Yeah, that's a good one too. Mine's probably closer than yours, but
I'd say yours is much closer. If I had to
it looks like it's straight out of Fallout, and that's why I'm saying this.
Yeah, that's
like
power.
Hey, this is the future. You just when you leave the house, you just press this button and your shoes get polished. It's like one of those things.
Oh, yeah. Oh no, I've seen you use that.
You've seen me use it, yeah. I actually started using it. Like I genuinely use it now. Like I use my black polish for my shoes. I get the polish off, then I put it under there for the final finish. Fucking works. Yeah, really works.
Next, we also have our second guest we ever had in the show. Also 2 episodes. They're tied for the second most episodes. Is Alexander Skippy Wheeler.
Yep, and Skip, we need you back, and we need you in person this time because we need to have fun ball together.
Exactly.
Yep.
He was on the episode An Offensive Account of
so funny.
Houdini, which I think was our funniest episode until
first fucking bangers. What it was.
I think
I can't say that it wasn't like the bangers are in the banger category. Yeah. Not sure I can rate them. They're just
I think they're all the top tier.
Fucking banger, and that one was like
but that was probably our first like best, funniest, coolest episode we ever did. It was
such a banger. It was so fun to do, and that was a solid fucking banger. Solid, so funny. Up. Yep.
Next, we have the one-timer guests, which is Doug Fiorentino on our episode about the Bermuda Triangle.
Yep, we needed him. We needed a real pilot.
He knew the real pilot info.
Doug was awesome, enthusiastic.
We could have done it in the same room. We were actually in the same house, but we did it on Zoom because we had to do the talking to each individual person. And he didn't want to stay for the full 3 hours. Who could blame him? That episode was long. But shout out to Doug. Another one-timer is Aaron Armitage.
Aaron Armitage,
space colonization episode, steps in to be a great guest for that one.
Yep, Aaron will definitely be back. We want him on. He wants to be on. We'll come up with some more topics. Get him back in here.
And of course, another one-timer guest, another great guest as they all are, on our episode about wizards was Matt Watton.
Matt Watton, solid fucking episode.
Which it was our first guest that Dylan had never met before. He met him on Zoom. But I think we had a fun time together talking about wizards.
Yeah, we sure did. That was a great episode. Yep, have Matt on. That was in like August. That was more recent than the rest of them.
That one was 6 months ago.
Damn. Yeah, that's crazy. And then then we have a recurring guest who can't stop. Hottest. We're trying to get rid of him actually. Just keeps coming on, and we're definitely
I don't think
all right, this is your last one. Stop coming on. Get off.
Yeah. And
you're causing too much of a ruckus with this podcast.
Yeah. And to the viewers, from what I hear, it is everyone's favorite episodes, is the episodes with this guest on it. So even though I love all our guests, the listeners have spoken, and that is Don Morrow.
Don Morrow. Yeah.
The heavy hitter. He's the hottest
if you guys know how to get rid of this guy, just let us know. We're trying. He just keeps coming back on.
Yeah. So any ideas are open besides if you put the idea, don't drink during the episode, we won't hear that. So anything besides that might work, we'll do that.
Yeah. We'll try. Yeah. Put some of those like fake, like my neighbor, you'd like, looks like poop and then you light it on fire. Then it looks like a snake running around. Maybe that.
I have no idea what you're talking about. That sounds horrifying.
This kid was, he went to bad kid school and I think he's not around anymore. Physically. But he was really mean to us all the time. But he used to light off fireworks in the middle of the street. But there's this thing that looked like poop, and then he'd have us go near it and see poop, and then it would light on fire, and then run around like a snake. So I was thinking maybe
like nightmare fuel.
I was thinking maybe we could use that to keep Dom away.
That might work.
Yeah, we could do that. Maybe some old classic stink bombs. Maybe maybe a glass of wine. I mean, does he do? Do you think wine would make him turn to a pumpkin or something? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I never seen him drink
like
wine.
A wine type of guy. Maybe we'll be like, oh hey, we're here, and then like, oh hey, all we have is a barefoot Merlot. He'd be like, I'm out of here. I don't know.
He'd be like, I'm gone.
I'm out of here.
Yeah, I was thinking that might work for sure. Yeah, it's gonna be
we'll see. We'll see what we can do. Yep.
But we do. But I, of course, and I know so do you, love all the episodes we did with them. They're some of our best.
Yeah, jokes aside, fucking love it. Can't wait to have it back, man.
Absolutely. Yeah. Can't wait. So any more about guests you want to talk about? I only have 2 things left here on our reminiscing list.
About guests?
Yeah, I think maybe that there's one guest that we've been I think 2 guests that we've been waiting to have on that haven't had on yet. One of them is one of our most avid listeners, and he's the shit. Actually, we met his parents at the Horseshoe Pub not too long ago.
It's funny you said that. So yes, I don't know if that message got across, but to our favorite Tesla enthusiast, Chris Hatch of
talking to you, Chris.
Yeah, talking to you, Chris. At I think his Instagram page is Mod My EV or something like that. But he's expressed interest in doing a episode on electric cars, which I think would be a fucking great episode. And we do need a guy like him to do that because neither of us. I don't know about you, Joe, but I don't know as much as him about this stuff.
I know
electric cars were the first cars.
Electric cars for sure. Yep. Yeah.
So we would love to have Chris on for an episode of talking about EVs, the future, the past, the present.
For sure. EVs. And the other 2 guests that one of them has made it clear he wants to go on the show. The other one we're gonna have to drag into it, and I'm sure he'd be happy to do it, which is Brendan Collins and Jeff Ramos, who are our most sought after guests.
Brendan expressed the fact that he has to do more drugs before he comes back on.
I can't.
He's waiting for one more experience so we can have an episode on a certain molecule.
The spirit molecule, perhaps. But
perhaps.
Yeah. So we'll have all those 3 on, and then many more guests in the future. We got to get on our shit about booking more guests because, like I said, it just makes the episode better and it just makes it fun.
I would love booking the guests. Yeah.
As much as I love hearing you and me talk and platter on, it's always great to have extra people.
We could do this forever, but it's the more the merrier. So as my uncle always said, the more merrier. I think he meant that. He came up with that.
So yeah, I got 2 last questions for us here, and this one's going to be tough. And I'll preface it by saying I love every episode of the show. I have to edit all of it, and it has me laughing and smiling. I'm by myself in my apartment, just enjoying us talking. I heard us talk the whole time, and I love the sound of my voice. That withstanding, I still love watching us platter on.
I just can't believe you take phone calls from me on your free time to hear my voice again, because you hear it so much.
There is. I will admit there is sometimes where I will. I'll shit on you in the edit by being like, stop coughing, or I'll say shit like that. I'd be like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
Or I'll have to power through me saying some dumb shit for 5 minutes off topic, and I have to watch myself say that, and I'll be like, look at this lame-o piece of shit.
Yeah, you are yourself watching yourself.
Yeah, I'm watching myself be a moron. I'm like, this is gonna be rough. So yeah, that happens. But I wanted to ask, what if you had to pick? They're all great, but what is your least favorite episode we've done as of today?
Ooh, I was preparing for favorites, so
that'll be the last one.
Least favorites. Yeah. It's gotta be, I think, God, that's a hard question.
Yeah.
So I think probably, I was gonna say cryptocurrency just because like it pisses me off.
You're right. Yeah, it was very informative, but it
pisses me off because it's a thing, and like that's a feature that we need to start thinking about if anyone wants to have any wealth.
And that's why we had the podcast about it. We're like, we have to address this. It's like
we got to talk about it. We got to address this.
Yeah,
it's something we got to do. My least favorite episode is like, I mean, God damn it. I mean, I don't know. Like, probably, I'm just going to say cryptocurrency because it's because it's a personal thing. It's not even that like it's that episode. We had fun that episode.
Yeah.
It was a fun episode. I learned a lot.
I learned so much.
The reason I'm in a hard time saying this is my least favorite one is because I just don't hate any episode that we had. Like, or I don't.
Me neither. I knew it would be a tough question. It's true.
But it's a tough question. But I'm saying this is just because cryptocurrency is a hard reality for some people like me.
Yep.
It's like, this is like, things were so simple 20 years ago, 30 years ago. It was like, well, they're more simple. And now it's like, now all of a sudden cryptocurrency is pretty shocking to most people. But then you realize that the metaverse is really the next thing, and you can make money off that too. And it's like, what the fuck is this? And they're like, oh, if you go buy in the metaverse and you buy property now with your real money, it might be worth it's like investing in a 3-family in Boston in the 80s and then in the future it's gonna be worth so much money because that's an actual. It's like, fucking god damn it, this shit's
it's got to be like when people first learn about like investing, where you usually just build your own house with your friends, and then it's like, you want to take a loan out from a bank and buy a property. People have been like, what is all this? It's so complicated.
It's complicated and stupid. It's even crazier.
But now we're used to that idea.
Cryptocurrency is like, like there's a fucking Joe the Tiger Man Joe Exotic coin now, and like that's having things, and you're like, should I buy that? Because like I don't give a fuck. But if I buy this at 0.000006 cents on the fucking cent, but in a year it might pop like Dogecoin, which means it's not even close to a cent, but all of a sudden my $1,000 investment turned into $800,000. It's like, I don't give a shit what the
that's what Sarge did with the Shiba coin, which is like a knockoff of Dogecoin. He has like 100,000 of them. So if it even goes to like
1 cent would give him $500,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like this, it's a reality, and like it's fun, but it just pisses me off. Like, it's like,
me too.
It's like blurring the lines of reality. So it's not the episode, it's the topic. I'm like, oh, and like I said, as they say, I hold crypto, which means I have like
HLDN.
A couple $100 of like closer to 500 and like 2 different things, because I'm like, I just need to fucking see. Maybe this will work out, maybe it won't, but it just pisses me off. So like I learned something from it and actually bought stuff after that, because I was like, you know what, whether I agree with this or not, it's probably a good idea to do it. But that's just the harsh reality of that. So that's my answer. What's yours?
My answer, I got 2 of them, but one of them sticks out for me. Is I think my answer is the Amazon, and that's just because it was our first live episode. We were finding our footing and doing that podcast live. We weren't used to it, and also the first 45 minutes didn't record.
That's what it was. Yeah.
So we had to redo the whole first hour again, and it was so forced. And I had such a fun time designing this with you and the whole idea of doing the podcast live. So all of the things around it were so much fun that I'll never hate that episode. But as far as like the actual episode itself, it's like, that one was rough because it was
and we hit the ground pretty fucking drunk when we started too, because we
started recording at like 11 o'clock at night. We usually start at like 7. So
exactly. So we were like already like, okay, so Amazon.
So even though that is a landmark episode, by being our first in-person episode, I still think if I had to pick one that was my least favorite, it would be that one.
Which reminds me, we need to do an episode on the Outback.
The Outback. Yeah, sure.
Because it's a conundrum.
And a close second would be Jesus is an Alien, because we didn't know the format of the podcast. It always went off.
We just went off. Yep.
It can't be my least favorite because it's the first one ever, and it means a lot to me. But as far as the nature of the way we do our podcast now, it's unrecognizable to what we do now. Yep.
But one thing I do like is we're like,
it set the tone though.
I was like, I'm Dylan, and you're like, and I'm Joe. Like, you did it like this cool, like I like the way that you introduce yourself on that episode more than any other episode. Like, you just did like this, like ready to rock. Like, I'm Joe. It was like this cool thing. So that's one thing.
We were jazzed up.
Yeah, we were both jazzed up.
So yeah, my answer is the Amazon, not that one, but that one was rough too.
Yep. Yeah, Jesus was an alien. Yeah.
So now I'll ask you the final one, which is, I won't make you pick a favorite episode, but you'll have to pick 3. That way you don't have to name number 1. You have to name 3 that are some of your favorites.
Okay.
Doesn't have to be number 1. They all are up there for you.
Yep. All right. So clowns.
Clowns, obviously, got to be on there for you. That holds a place near and dear to you.
Definitely clowns. Top 10 birds.
Oh yeah, top 10 birds. It's so good.
And oh my god, this is even harder. I don't know. All right, so clowns apocalypse survival team.
Yep.
And I said top 10 birds, but it might change. Hang on. So I don't know. Harry Houdini, dude. Oh my god. And then
such
Ghosts.
A good episode.
What?
Yeah.
How am I supposed to pick this? So Madame de Voyage. Dude, I don't know. I mean, all right. So pick one with a guest. I'm gonna do Apocalypse Survival Team, and then I'm gonna do Clowns, no question. And then okay. Let's just go with probably Vampires.
Vampires
was a great fucking
such a
all
good
of that
episode.
was so good. So all right, so we got Vampires, top 10 survival team, Clowns. So I've got one Zoom, which is always our least preferred, but some of them are fucking hot as fuck. But it's always more fun in person. So yes, so Zoom is Clowns, a guest Apocalypse survival team, and then in person Vampires. And Vampires, that's a good way to pick just for the record, Vampires was up against a lot of things, including fucking heat. It was hot as shit.
Yeah, it seemed like it wasn't that long ago, but it was summer weather when we did it.
Yeah, it was really.
We had to turn the AC off between takes
every time. Yeah,
rattle.
Yep.
Where you can still hear that in the episode about. No, I think it was that episode. Like the last 30 minutes, you can hear the AC going because we were so hot, and I was barely wearing anything, and you were dressed to the nines. So I got
it was all up. Yeah, I was moving.
You can accuse Dylan a lot of things, but not. You can't accuse him of not committing to the costume. He goes all out every time.
Accuse me of anything else, but
I like that format you had, which is one Zoom, one guest, and one in person. And I'll go the same way. For my Zoom, I almost wanted to pick the Gardner Museum heist because that was such a fun episode, and it was one of the only topics that I knew zero about before we started.
Yeah,
I mean, I know a little bit about a lot of things, but not a lot about anything. But this was one topic I had no idea about. We came up with the idea when we were riding bikes, and you never heard of that. And then the amount I learned about it, the amount of fun I had talking to you about it, and speculating about the heist and all the shit for so long. And you even ended up buying me one of the pieces of art stolen from the thing.
Beautiful piece.
It always holds a dear place in my heart. But as far as the actual episode goes, I'm going to pick Ghosts for my Zoom.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so glad someone picked it.
Yeah.
Dude, the second I saw you, we both, I was actually in this undisclosed location when it was aired, and I went to town on my thing. Then
we didn't talk about costumes. We just knew we were talking about ghosts, and then we turned the Zoom on and just laughed for the first.
I was a ghost, and you were a priest. That is such a good fucking episode. It's insane.
Yeah, I think that was one of our first ones where we really kicked it up a notch. As far as the podcast goes. And it was one of the first ones where we had it all figured out, which I love. So I would pick that one for that. For the one with a guest, I would be very inclined to pick the very next episode after Ghost, which is the Harry Houdini one, because it was so good with the guest. It was just hit after hit after hit. But because of the fact that you didn't pick it, I gotta pick top 10 birds, man.
You gotta pick that, man. You gotta fucking pick it.
It's so good. It's still, as far as I know, it's our longest episode we ever made, and it's it started the top 10 tradition that you had the idea of doing a top 10 birds, and I was like, that has nothing to do with our podcast at all, but I love the idea, and you were totally right about it.
Where that came from, but that is.
And of course, we said, well, why don't we just spring this on Dom? He had like 24 hours to decide, and I knew he was going to be down for it, and he was.
Yep.
So top 10 birds for that. And the in-person ones, since you took Vampires, which probably would have been my pick because that one was so much fun, I'm going to pick, I know it sounds cheesy because we just did it, I'm going to pick Big Time Blunders, man. I had so much fun doing that with you. We were laughing our balls off. And it wasn't. It showed the spirit of the podcast where we had some stuff prepared.
God, that was good.
But for the majority of it, we're just going off on stories and
it was like the evolved format of an in-person podcast in every way. It was just every single, just so everyone knows, every single episode we do, we're like, that was a masterpiece. Like everyone evolves.
They're all my favorite, really,
with new ideas. They're like literally, it's hard to, because like it's hard to have a favorite kid, like
they're all
but like I feel like, but you have a favorite kid.
Sure,
no one says that, but
and
this is like
cryptocurrency
really
is
hard.
Not our favorite.
What?
And cryptocurrency is the black sheep of
the is the black sheep. But as these went along, it's just insane how like you like every single one of them is like, you're like, shit, that was like a real good piece of art almost,
I think so too.
Yeah, that's how I feel.
So what do you think? Final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts. We're getting to that point. So final thoughts is it's been an emotional, funny, fucking awesome experience and year. And I can't think of anyone else I'd rather be with than you, Joe. Fucking great podcast. Great year. Great year of podcasting more than anything. And I'm just excited for, looking at the format of other folks in their podcasts. They do this for fucking years. This is just something they fucking do. You make it a part of your week, part of your month, whatever it is. You just keep moving.
Absolutely.
It keeps moving. So those are my final thoughts. I'm just excited just not even for the future, because the future this is just consistent
now.
It's just a consistency of something that people get to look forward to, throwing this on in the car, in the fucking taking a shit, wherever
you
work,
choose to listen.
It's how it goes down. So yeah. Final thoughts.
It's been fucking awesome. Man. I'm so happy that, because like I told you when we first started, I had been listening to podcasts for years. I listened to podcasts constantly. I barely ever listened to music. And when you came to me with the idea we should do a podcast together, my first thought is, are you serious? Because I was 100% in. I just didn't want you to not be serious about it, because then you'd break my heart. But you were serious. And we kind of had, weird, we'll do it on Zoom. I'll use my headphones. You'll use your laptop.
COVID, whatever. It was fucked. Like, we didn't have any other option.
You're basically the person I talked to the most during that time, because you didn't see anybody, didn't talk to anybody. So it's one of the good things that came out of being locked down in our houses, which is the idea of starting this podcast. So I basically just, echo back all the shit you said. It's been a great time. So many fun experiences. You get to learn a lot, get to joke around a lot, and we get to make fun stuff together that we get to look back on, like days like today, and say, oh, wasn't that funny? Wasn't that fun? And I hope we keep doing it, and it keeps growing and being more interesting every time.
Yeah. And we keep everybody else hard too. I mean, they're all like,
I want them fully tumescent.
Yeah, everyone's just going through their lives and doing things. You throw it on, listen to us, talk about some shit, learn something. You always learn something. We learn something every time.
I learn something every week.
Yeah, and it's who knows what's next. I mean, I mentioned the Outback, and then I mentioned
that.
And then I think for guests, I think it's the most fun for us and them. We're gonna stick with some top 10s for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody has a top 10?
Don't worry. As long as we can keep doing it, we will keep doing top 10s every 10th episode. I think it's a great format. It's some of our best episodes we ever do. The top 10 scary movies was, even though I didn't pick it for the list just because the top 10 birds is such a benchmark for us, top 10 scary movies was maybe our best episode we ever did.
It was incredible. And it was
everyone
hard to
who's talked to me about it was like, that is like the benchmark for like their favorite episode so far. So very good.
Great. So any ideas, any feedback, anything you want to see, you want to be on this podcast, you come to us with a good fucking idea, we'll make it happen.
I know we're broken records here, but like, just if you want to be on it, you're on. There's no competition. You are on it.
You are on it. Yep. So we'll make it happen. So
thanks to all of our listeners over this past year, man. I know there's not, thousands of you, but all of you have been so cool to us, and feedback and watching the visual of the podcast or just listen to it. I mean, it's been so cool to have people watching and listening and all that stuff. Really appreciate you guys.
Yeah, it's almost surreal too. Like, you see the numbers and you see this and you're like, wow, like, cool. Like, we thank you guys more than anything.
Yeah.
Thanks for.
I mean, don't get us wrong. We would do it without you.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Is that
people?
It's really cool seeing that, but
we wouldn't have this podcast with the listeners. We would, but it wouldn't be as fun.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, it wouldn't be as fun without guests and listeners, but we would definitely do it without you.
We'd still do it.
When we see that happens, we go, "Thank you so much." Like,
we appreciate it.
Not sure if you guys know this, but we don't make money off this podcast yet.
We do not. Yeah, those were in town sponsorships.
Whether we do or don't, it's still the machine's moving forward.
Exactly.
But seeing that you guys are supportive and listen right in, help us with stuff. We've had people help us with Instagram shit and these things. We get better about that, but it's been just we're thankful to everybody who's out there. That's all. So we'll see you guys next week for fucking something. So that's it. And that's the Dylan Joe Basement Podcast, episode 13. Just kidding. Episode 43. Episode 43. And we'll see you guys in a few days for something else.
Here's to another year.
Here's another year. Cheers.
Cheers. Not bad.
Welcome to Salem, brother. The opening song was Kiss. So, thousands of employees got an email that said that New Horizons in Marlboro, this shit's coming down.
Yeah. The Cummings, the CEO, said, "I don't want any bad press."
Surprise! We don't know what our plans are yet, but we really got to think about this one because if you don't need bad press,
yeah, exactly.
Okay,
exactly right. That's so funny. It's like, I'm not just some dumb frat guy. Okay, I can show you that by bullying people weaker than me. She's like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "We were just there last month." She's like, "That's New Jersey." Because everyone who she sees is Indian. She's like, "Oh, that's India."
Yeah. She goes to India.
India's New Jersey.
India's New Jersey. That's great. But most importantly, Philadelphia is still just as boring. Still terrible. Cool. Like, we thank you guys more than anything.
Yeah.
Thanks for.
I mean, don't get us wrong. We would do it without you.
Yeah. That's actually a good point.
To me, it look like a leprechaun to me. All I gotta do is look up in the tree. Who else in the leprechaun say yeah? Yeah!